All right, well, we just finished the morning squad. This is a unique week because all of our qualifying's on one day. I think it's so that they could do a Saturday show. But we started really, really well. The entire building, I think everybody in the building had some issues in transition, whether it was the first or the second. We got to do one ball for everybody in between blocks, and so we did one for 4 or 5 of our guys just to aid them in a little bit of the transition. We have a whole lot of players who have a pop at this top 16 cut, and even more guys who are in pretty good shape to get a check. So you know, season long, you're thinking about the points and everything else that's on the line, along with just making sure you're getting a check, even if you're not winning every week. We had a lot of work to do here. So first person that we had was AJ Johnson. AJ's actually had a pretty good start as far as adjusting to the new balls and everything. He had one really bad block last week, but he bowled well in Dallas. He bowled well the second block in Shawnee. Today came out of the gate really, really well. He's actually one of the only guys we didn't do a ball for because he lost it in transition at one point, but he felt like he had a pretty clear picture and just kind of whiffed on which ball to use. Nick was with AJ and Richie Allen for most of the day, so I'm gonna let him kind of talk about what AJ saw.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, on the left lane, which was the long, that was the Shark, he was using the Alpha Jackal quite a bit. Looked really good for him, just really stable, something that he could keep in front of him, and you know, just transition pretty smooth and keep it in the oil. And then on the right lane, he used the Venom recoil quite a bit, and then once that recoil started to wiggle down lane and just give him a funny reaction, that's where we got into trouble. And you saw that 160 game there towards the middle of the block, and that's kind of what we were looking to, kind of figure out where we can fill that hole and maybe get on it faster to where that game doesn't happen.
What was the ball he said he wanted to get into there?
After the recoil, I think he wanted to get into a shock.
Okay.
So, we did get into a shock later, and obviously move in pairs, and people...
Who you follow matters.
Absolutely, out here.
Now, what we'll say about this is, I believe that the Venom recoil is probably the best reactive resin ball for short oil that there is. It's looked great so many times and for so many bowlers. The issue that we see with it is that when the angles start to get steep, it is an asymmetrical ball. A lot of the time the balls that the guys use on fresh are for shallow angles, for going a little more direct. When they open the angles up, that ball goes very forward. It's what makes it good on fresh. It's also what limits it when we start to open angles. The great thing is, you have a no-brainer to switch to a Venom shock from that because there's no asymmetry. The ball is going to go left a little easier. So you're right, that is a good transition. He may end up with, I think he said he was also going to think about a forge fire in that transition, just to since his angle's getting steeper and there's still some oil on the lane, he may go with a higher differential but still a low RG. That's to control the front to back and have a little bit more cover on the lane, down lane. Other people that we have close, Richard Teese, we just took a Rogue Assassin for him in that first transition and added a hole that'll lower the RG and raise the differential. Same idea as we were talking about, staying in a low RG ball but increasing the flare for that first transition where you're still moving into oil when you make your first move. There's so much volume on tour that first move, if you don't have a strong ball to go to, you might 210 on that first move. So that's where he's going. Michael Holloman just added another urethane for the short oil when he starts to see some carry down from the other lefties using urethane. There aren't a lot of lefties, but there are enough. What other bowlers did we have? Dick Allen just felt like he didn't execute well at the beginning of the day. We saw a lot of scores from him later on. He's not drilling a ball. He's just going.
Just a really slow start for him,
Right.
and once he did figure it out, it was just making sure that he was on his moves and knowing the pair that he was coming to and being able to read it really fast, so that the back half was really good for him.
Right.
Zach Wilkins bowled really well.
Zach was in a Supra for the last 3 games. He felt like his gap from the asymmetrical balls to the Supra was a little too big, so I did a bit of a throwback. I did an original Octane for Zach. It's a slightly lower RG than what you have in the Supra. It's single density and it's a little bit lower differential. So it's just a more tame core with a slower response cover. So that with his rev rate, that should match up for him in that transition until he can get into the Supra and just lace it at the gap between the 1 and the 3. And besides that, I think we have 4 or 5 players who could get there, and we're just going to cross our fingers.
Yeah.